The guest we have today is 72 plus year young Professor Sir Fraser Stoddart from Northwestern University, US. He is one of the top 10 most cited chemists in the world. He is a specialist in molecular nanotechnology. He has developed a new concept called mechanical bond in chemistry and has pioneered the molecular switches and machines and opened a new area in chemistry. He is a recipient of 60 major international awards and was elected to the Royal Society in 1994. He has authored more than 9 books and monographs. 13 patents is in his credit. More than 1,050 papers and reviews he has written in his few decades of his chemical career. He is one of the world-renowned chemists, and we are very happy to have you, sir, here. Welcome.
Thank you
Welcome
very much.
to this show.
Thank you.
Actually, I thought I'll start with where it all began. You know, when you were a child. I was told that you were born in a farm where there was no electricity. Can you describe to our viewers what was your life like at that time?
Well, my first 25 years were spent on a farm, a lowland farm in Scotland that was a mixed arable farm, so many things were happening at once. I was actually born in Edinburgh, the capital of the country of Scotland, but my parents moved to this farm only as tenant farmers when I was 6 months old.
Okay, 6 months old you moved into this farm.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
And then as I grew up, I had to be, as the only child, integrated into the everyday activities of this farm that had cows that we were giving milk, that we had hens laying eggs, and we had cattle to feed, and we had ewes to lamb, and we had fields to plough and then harvests to bring in, and it was very varied throughout the seasons, but also very varied in any one day. So multitasking was the order of the day.
So one day you might be milking a cow, second day maybe you are doing some farm work. You know, I mean, like that's how you grew up.
That's how I grew up, yes, absolutely. Yes.
So when did you first go out of this village?
Well, I went to the nearby village school when I was 4 years of age, and I had 4 years of experience in a very small school. There was only 5 of us when I first went. When I left, there was 28 because just a big family came into the village, and that changed the dynamic. But because, to begin with, it was a very small class, I learned to knit, for example, because the other 4 children were women's, were girls. Yeah, so you know, the dynamic was very interesting.
So, like you started knitting, perhaps. I mean, I think now you knit chemicals, which I will, we'll talk about it a bit later. But let's come back to your childhood once more. Like you were sort of saying earlier that there was a time when there was no electricity, the way you worked over there. Can you just describe the world that was, let's say, 50, 60 years ago when you were young?
Well, it was very basic. Remember, this was in the wake of World War II. There were not many toys. There were very, very few luxuries. So the fact that I had to be brought up with paraffin lamps and candles was not too big of a, I think, negative. I had to learn to be very resourceful in the way we used, I used light and power. We had a radio that had to be driven by a battery, and we had to make sure that the battery would go to the nearest township to be charged every week, that we didn't use it too much, otherwise we'd have no radio at the end of the week. So it was, you had to tailor your cloth according to the needs of the situation.
So basically you grew up learning that never say no.
Yes.
Never give up. You know?
Never give up, and there were many disasters involving what happened climate-wise or with disease and so forth. We had to survive, and that was the driving force. My parents had to make enough money to pay a few people to help us, and it was a very, very, I think, interesting and useful upbringing for my future.
I think it's also important in today's context, where young people often complain of this is not there, that is not there, or they fear failure. Your upbringing that you never give up, even in the adversary.
Absolutely. I found in science that it is more your ability to manage and cope with failure that decides if you're going to be successful at the end of the day, because surely you'll face 9 failures for one major success. And, I often say, and it's not my words, but the secret of success is the capacity to survive failure.
Failures.
Yeah.
And then face up failures. I mean, when failure come, you don't come up and then say that, oh, yeah, I'll run away, rather than say that, okay, it's one step, that's it. Huh?
When failure comes up, then the challenge is to turn it somehow into a success. I mean, we have a saying that in English, turn a pig's ear into a sow's purse.
Okay.
Turn something that's not attractive into something that is very attractive.
That's very interesting. Let's move to your... you are one of the most active chemists today. I mean, if people talk about you are one of the most, one of the 10 most cited chemists today. It's not just only your output, but your output is so important and so valuable that others find it necessary to even cite. What made you interested in chemistry?
Well, I was very fortunate. I left the village school at age 8. My parents decided that they would somehow pay some fees. They were not large, but I could go to a school in Edinburgh. And I think I was very fortunate that kind of 8 or so generations removed from the time of the so-called Scottish Enlightenment, which had brought a huge amount of academic activity and success to Scotland. Edinburgh was called the Athens of the North in the 1700s.
Yeah.
I was taught by both primary school and high school teachers who could have been professors. They were erudite, very, very engaging people from whom I learned a lot. I did not appreciate it at the time, but later on, I did.
So you had teachers who could motivate you, who
Yes.
can kindle passion in you. I mean, that's what you think,
Yes.
put you into science.
Yes,
While others would have
apart
moved
from
into...
science, I remember one language teacher would take us to concerts in Edinburgh, to classical concerts on a weekly basis. So we were introduced to culture as well as all the activities that the school had to offer. So we were very, very fortunate.
I mean, you've done so many papers, so many books, I mean, many patents. If someone asks you, list 3 which you think is the most important or most, close to your heart, what would you?
Well, that's always difficult to pick
Yeah.
out from 100, or sorry, 1,000 or over 1,000 scientific publications. There have been milestones along the way. I would say in 1989, when we made our first mechanically interlocked molecule. So this is where we had one ring and we managed to clip another one round it very, very efficiently. This was a staggering discovery. Everybody involved in it, the students and the postdoctoral students, were extremely excited, and that certainly was a milestone. Later on, I think I could pick out, once I moved from England to California, working on molecular switches, and by 2007 getting to a point where we created random access memory based on molecules with a 160 kilobit memory that was encased in a fabricated system that was smaller than the cross-section of a white blood cell. That, I think, and it was done collaboratively, of course, was a major breakthrough that gave me a lot of satisfaction. And then if you want a third one, I would have to pick a very recent one where one of my Chinese postdoctorals, quite by accident, one day discovered that by taking something called alpha-cyclodextrin, which you obtain from starch microbiologically, so it can be made by the ton, if he added potassium tetrabromoorate, he got an immediate precipitate. In other words, we had a way of isolating gold that is environmentally friendly and green. And this is now the basis for a startup company that is called Cyclodex. And we have people writing in 2 or 3 a day often by email from all around the world, from communities that are trying to avoid the use of cyanide, which is still massively used in the gold mining industry. And so we feel we're on, as it were, a wave here of environmental improvement in an industry that has been using either cyanide or mercury for a long, long time. And so that would be my third one. So I give you one at the beginning of my career and one that is maybe quite academic still, and then one that could go to application.
Yeah. Let's take a small break. Don't go away. It's very interesting. The discussion is going very interesting. So let's come back very quickly. Welcome back after this short break. We are with us Sir Fraser Stoddart from Northwestern University, US. He is one of the topmost chemists of the world. People say that he will be in the top 10 in the world today. And he has, to his credit, a large number of publications, and he has trained more than 400 students. We were discussing with him his most important, let's say, work that you felt are milestones in your career. One of the things that you talked about is about mechanical bond. Most of us who have studied chemistry, let's say at the school level or graduation level, undergraduation level, would have learnt about bonds like covalent bond or other ionic bonds. What is this mechanical bond?
Well, it's one of the newer bonds in chemistry, and I think my interest in it could be traced out of the fact that being brought up on the farm, I was also introduced to engineering. We didn't touch that side of it, but I watched the transformation from the horse and cart to the tractor to the combine harvester. And so the mechanical aspect of my life, grew very gradually through my formative years. And so when I saw the opportunity to take what was called chemistry beyond the molecule, or putting a fancy name onto it, supramolecular chemistry, and take it to the next stage. My frustration with supramolecular chemistry was that you take one piece, you take another piece, you put them together, but they're constantly coming together and going apart. And so what about using the same principles, the weak so-called non-covalent bonding, things like hydrogen bonds or ionic bonds, and bringing two pieces together. But one, say, could be a ring, and then another one could be thread-like, and then take the thread-like one and make it into a ring. So you have two rings, and this is what we call today a two-catenane. Then we're back into the molecular world. And so you have all the joy of supramolecular chemistry, of the non-covalent bond, brought into the context of the molecular world. The bits are no longer flying apart. You have tamed them. And so now you have the basis for building a switch. You have the basis for building a machine. You have the basis, ultimately, of building a motor. And that, I think, is the simplest sort of description I can give you with it.
It's very, very, very interesting. I mean, it's like, we have talked about benzene rings and things like that, but whereas now you're putting one ring on the other, and then making it into a three-dimensional,
yes, and what we're using is very much bigger than benzene rings. So the art of chemistry has grown in size. The molecules used to be small. Now they're reaching up onto the nanoscale. They were very much sub-nanometer in the 150 years ago, but now we're reaching up to a nanometer and 10 nanometers and so forth.
Yeah, this kind of mechanical bond, Is it found in nature? I mean, like, for
Yes,
example...
it is found in DNA, it's found in proteins. I would like to think that as the discoveries in nature continue to grace the literature, the scientific literature, that this is a almost unique situation where chemists have given a bit of a lead to the scientific community by pointing out that you can make from an abstract starting point, using, of course, the same principles biology uses, what we call molecular recognition and self-assembly. You can make these constructs like catenanes, and then there are many, many others, that they're being discovered increasingly in the biological world.
In the world, okay. Yeah. About the chemistry, there is a popular imagination. Like, physics has a lot of big questions. How did this universe came about? And today, one of the, let's say, deep question that people are asking is dark matter. Is it there? What is it? You look at life sciences, the questions of origin of life, or questions about evolution. There are big questions. Chemistry, for popular, perception, seems to be lacking any big question. Is it so?
No.
Are there big questions in chemistry?
There are huge questions, big questions. Let me just take you up on one that you mentioned. I will put my professional situation at stake here by saying that if the origin of life is going to be tackled and meaningful agenda and ultimately solution evolve, chemists are going to play a very big part. And I say this with a lot of feeling because one of my most outstanding graduate students of the last few years is now at Harvard. Mm-hmm. And what he has done is to take the principles that he learned about making these mechanically interlocked molecules, and when we combine self-assembly with molecular recognition, we produce something called templation. He's now using templation in the RNA world. Okay. And he is studying with one of the world's experts in the origin of life. And we heard a lecture from him recently at Northwestern, and that left me very encouraged that chemists are going to play a big part there. But the other place that I would like to single out today that I think is very topical this week, and has been, of course, for many years, is climate change. Climate change. If the world is going to address this problem, and whether it does or not is going to be largely in the hands, at least at this stage in our existence, with the politicians. But if they give the right signals, the scientists who are going to come to the fore to address this problem are going to be chemists. They are the people who are going to create the new solar cells. They are the people who are going to create more efficient batteries. They are the people who are going to create more efficient fuel cells. They are the people who are going to effectively do something about the remediation of the environment, all the CO2 that is being pumped out.
How do you sequester it?
How do you sequester it? We are making a huge amount of progress in this direction. Let it not be lost on society around the world. It is happening, and I see the days when we will be under so much pressure that the politicians will turn to the scientists. And when they turn to the scientists, the chemists will be right there at the forefront, ready to bring solutions to these problems. We will reach out and we will bring solutions, I have no doubt.
So you are saying that the real life and death questions of contemporary times are largely based on chemistry. That's what you are making.
I would argue we play a very large role, but I would like to say in the context of historically, we've played a huge role. I mean, we are full of chemicals. We breathe gases which are chemicals. We eat food which is chemicals. We live in buildings which are made of chemicals. We walk on carpets that are made of chemicals. We drive in cars that are made of chemicals. We fly in airplanes that are made of chemicals. Everything that you want to say about chemicals is 99% or more good. We should not focus on the bad, but the good. That's what I feel so emotionally about.
Related to this, let me bring yeah, another perspective. I mean, see, if you look at the popular culture, the word chemical essentially brings into the mind of a larger audience something which is unsafe, which is dangerous. If somebody says that this food packet contains chemical, it's something to be avoided. That's a kind of popular culture that seems to be existing around. What's your take on that?
Well, my take on that is that maybe we as chemists have failed to educate the public who would say these things. I take your example. Here is a food packet that is full of chemicals. Yes, it is full of chemicals. The food is chemicals. There is no escaping it, whether it's starch or whether it's protein or whatever it is. It's all chemicals. Okay, we can then decide, do we add something that is less natural? And then what is the decision or definition between natural and unnatural? That is a very shady definition. In my own life, I prefer to eat fresh vegetables and fresh meat and fish and fruit. But it's all chemicals. We have this misnomer that somehow this word
you
is
can have
used
something which is non-chemical.
It's non-chemical, yeah. It does not make any sense. And we have, I think, an educational challenge as chemists to get out to the community somehow and get the message across that it's all chemicals. And, if I were to be mildly controversial here and to point a finger at my own community, I would say in my generation, we have not been very good at going out and talking in a very positive way on this medium that we're on today about chemistry. Because somehow we've not produced the personality in any culture who can carry this message the way some of the physicists or biologists have managed to do it.
Yeah. So public communication is an important aspect.
It is a very important aspect, and it's something that we chemists, I think, could do better on.
Yeah. We are having a very enlightening and interesting discussion. But unfortunately, we don't have much time. There is only another 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. But then, in this, I would like you to sort of reflect on how the modern science is impacting on society. There is again a large perception that the science being done is esoteric. It is not having impact positively on the development of the people or society. What would be your...
No, science and particularly chemistry is going to be hugely impactful. I see a day coming very quickly when oil will not dominate our planet. Oil will be the coal of the future. We'll no longer want to bring it out from under the ground or under the seas, and we will be going for solar energy and then using batteries to save our energy. I see a very, very different planet evolving, and so I think science is very, very important from the point of view of the existence of the planet in the future, while we also have to sequester the CO2 from the atmosphere and
sort of clean up the...
and clean up everything, yes. So all of that is going to be the job of the scientist and particularly the chemist. But at the same time, give us the chance to exercise our imaginations, to have our dreams, to do esoteric things, because most of the discoveries that have been made in my lab have been made serendipitously. In other words, we were trying to do one thing and we discovered another.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. With this, we would wrap up this program. But before doing so, I would like to recall in 1850, when the population of Europe was multiplying, the Royal Society gave a challenge that how do we improve food production? And the challenge was took by the chemist, and they developed the artificial fertilizer, artificial synthesis of ammonia. That, in some sense, opened up the way you can do farming, the way you can grow food, and that sort of stopped millions dying of hunger as of today. I think, as Professor Fraser has pointed out here, if we are going to go into a solar society, the new generation solar cells or the batteries which would be needed to store the energy is going to come from the work of chemist. And with this, we thank him and thank you and thank Raghasubramanian.